Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scorebook Stories. And I'm joined by the first guest ever on the show, and I'm very excited. He is a Penn State grad, and he was drafted in the 14th round in 2007 to the San Francisco Giants. He also went to Springford High School, which is right down the road from the high school in town that I grew up in, Pottstown. So I'm sure we're going to dive into a lot of conversations about how he embarrassed my high school his whole life. So it's going to be a great time, and it is an absolute pleasure to have Craig Clark on the show today. How are you doing today, man?
All good, man.
Yeah,
All good.
We're going to have a great time. So we're going to start things off here. Or just how did you fall in love with the game of baseball? Because baseball is a game that I feel like every young man, every boy at one point has a love for. So how did you develop that love for the game?
I just actually grew up, and I mean, all of us were always actually outside, actually active, and I mean, all of us were always outside, actually doing all like the football ball and run the bases and all that other stuff, and actually hitting all like the ball off of like the tee and aiming at targets, and it just actually happened.
Yeah. It's just it's just a game that I feel is so easy to fall in love with because everybody outside all summer, it's like what you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely great. And then you ended up going to Springford High School, which I had mentioned is right down the road from where I went. And I went to Pottstown High School, and we weren't the greatest at sports really at all. But talk a little bit about your time in high school at Springford and how you can talk some smack, let everybody know that Pottstown High School baseball wasn't up to snuff back then, or you can just talk more on how Springford really developed you for the Division I level and further down the road once you got drafted into professional baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I just actually grew up, and I knew that like so over like the time with like the all like the stuff with like the high school and Legion and all that stuff. I mean, I just actually grew to actually love all like the game within a game.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So all like the game is all good and everything, but there's also a game within a game, all between all like the guy on like the mound and all like the guy in like the box. And I tried to outsmart all them, and all those guys actually tried to understand all like the stuff that I was actually doing. But Springford was an awesome school, and the coaches are absolutely awesome. And all of the trainers and absolutely anybody up there at the school, I give all like the credit, like to all them. And my mom and dad were absolutely always on my side, and they pushed and pushed and pushed, and that's actually why I became like the athlete that I was.
Yeah. So like having that support team around you is it's fundamental, especially with any professional athlete out there. Like you see stories about football players or basketball players that may not have had the best upbringing and the best life as a child and in their youth, but they had coaches from their AAU teams or their youth teams. They had other adults that were able to impact their lives and help them get onto the correct path. And it seems like from what you said, you have had an absolutely incredible support group around you through your upbringing to put you on the path to eventually become drafted. What did the recruiting process really look like for you? Was it really just Penn State, or were you kind of
No.
surprised when D1 offers started rolling in?
My junior year is when all this stuff actually started like to ramp up. And that's when all the schools and colleges, can actually ask you all like the stuff, and I didn't have absolutely any idea what I was actually going to actually do. I mean, I had hundreds and hundreds of letters and like the mail and emails and all that stuff, and like I asked my all like the mom and like the dad, like, hey, I want your input, and they were absolutely awesome and absolutely everything. I had three coaches actually come to my all like the home and actually in all like the house actually met all like the mom and dad, introduced everybody, and but it all like the end of like the thing when Joe Hindelang actually came to like the home and all like the offer and all of the Penn State atmosphere and knowledge and all like the education I could actually get from all them is why I picked all them.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't actually have it any other way at all.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, Penn State has always had a reputation of being a pretty solid school. I wouldn't consider it a baseball school by any means, but I'm sure they were more than excited to have a solid lefty rolling into the rotation. Were you always a starter, or were you kind of a bullpen guy that kind of morphed into being able to give them length in the rotation?
I came up and I told all of them that I'll do absolutely anything. Like I'll do absolutely anything. I don't like it, and it's all good. All because like the end of like the day, it's almost the same, but there is a mental aspect of a starter compared to the mental aspect of a bullpen guy.
Yeah.
All because, so as a starter, like you actually know on that day, like all like the ball is actually all you, and so as you actually wake up, like you actually know you're going to be on the hill.
Yeah.
And you have to be mentally and physically ready as a bullpen guy. It can be like all that, and you're on the map.
Yeah, you got to have that switch that you can just turn on and go.
And I just actually knew at absolutely any time, at all times, hey man, you got to be actually ready and all good.
Did you have a real preference to starting over relieving? Even going back as far as like Little League.
Well, in Little League, I played shortstop and I caught and I pitched. So that was like a whole switch when I turned, I guess it was 13, and that's when they said all like the guys in like the infield actually have to be righties, and if you're going to be all like something like the outfield or first. So that's when I went to either outfield, first, or pitching.
Yeah. I mean, makes sense. That's pretty much what every baseball coach has now. Righties can only play infield. My dad hates that rule too because he's a lefty.
I understand all like a sub all because it was actually hard for me to actually turn a double play or as a catcher. It's all that's all good, but you just actually have to be careful.
Yeah. It's different. Once you end up signing your letter of intent and you commit to Penn State, you head out to Happy Valley. What was the team like out there in Penn State back through those days, the early 2000s, Big Ten baseball? What was it like?
It was cold.
It was cold.
So, I remember a game early on. It was at the University of Iowa, and it was snowing, and it was like 18 degrees outside. And I was actually warming up, and I tried to put on as much that I could stay warm, but not to restrict all like the stuff that I actually had to do. And I just actually remember warming up, and my hand was numb. It was numb. I couldn't feel all like the ball out of my all like the hand, and I knew that all my off speed stuff is all about the touch and the feel. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. And I remember the second batter of the game, I jammed him, and his bat exploded. An aluminum bat exploded, and it was all over like the infield. And I knew that all this was going to be a long day.
I can imagine. I can't even. Like, I remember a couple fall ball games that were just brutal, but that seems next level.
I pulled my catcher out. I said, I don't have the touch on my off speed stuff. And he goes, oh, I mean, what do you mean? I said, my hand's cold. I said, it's freezing out here. And I said, all of us are just going to have to go inside, outside, up, down with all like the fastball, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, you can rotate from a 4-seam to a 2-seam to get a little bit of a tail, but maybe a changeup depending on which one you're throwing. But it's gonna be we're gonna be trying to find some junk balls to end up throwing. See if we can on the fly develop a palm ball or something.
Inside, outside, up, down with all like the movement, and it was cold.
Yeah. Now, growing up, when I was catching in high school, I really tried to find YouTube videos and stuff like that and study pitches so that way I could understand what I was going to end up seeing coming from my pitchers and understand the strategy of pitching. Where and when, maybe it was high school, maybe it was at Penn State, but when did you really start to understand like pitching philosophies and strategies and whether or not you're going to be throwing inside, outside, up, down, breaking balls, fastballs, that kind of stuff?
And all this comes on back to like a game, but then all like a game.
Yeah.
All right. So if I see a guy on the plate, I know if I go on in on him, he's gonna think it's a ball, but it's actually on the plate. That's a strike. And I knew that if a guy is on the plate, I can extend that plate outside, all because of his eyes. So if I went 40 inches off of that, I knew he's going to be actually swinging because he thinks it's on the plate. If I saw a guy off the plate, I knew that I could actually go 3 inches in, and he thinks it's on the plate, and it actually isn't. And you just actually kind of had to look at the guy in the box and just trust all like the stuff that you actually have. And
yeah,
over from there, I didn't actually learn how to locate and pitch until probably my freshman year in college, where I'm actually up against, all like the NCAA, and it's not that I can actually let one actually go and
just rely on
aren't catching up to it.
Yeah, just rely on the sheer power that you had in high school. You can't really do that at the NCAA level. You have to be a little more strategic.
Absolutely.
Now, how did the draft process look for you? You were drafted in the 14th round. Was there, like, going into the draft, was there any like conversations with scouts or prospects of you're going to be going somewhere this year?
I was a senior, so it was either I go or I have to get an all day, every day job. So I spoke to almost every MLB team. I didn't speak to anybody with SF. I didn't speak to anybody.
And nobody from San Francisco contacted you. You had no clue they were of interest at all?
I got a call from the Phillies, and they said, I'm going to draft you in this round if you're actually there. I got drafted, I think, a pick or 2 picks by SF before I was going to get drafted by the Phillies. And I had absolutely no idea.
That's insane. Yeah, you were drafted 434th overall, and the next Phillies picks was 443. So it wasn't even 10 picks later, and they ended up taking a shortstop named Jesus Villegas, who apparently only has minor league stuff. Either way, your year when you were drafted in 2007, there was another person the Giants drafted. Not sure if anyone's heard of him, Madison Bumgarner. He was okay, I think, right? Yeah, Madison Bumgarner had a very, very successful career for anybody who somehow does not know that name. But you guys played together for, I believe it was 2 full seasons. And then once you got to San Jose, in 2009, he ended up moving up pretty fast. But looking at that 2009 roster, when you're with the San Jose team in the California League, it seems like you were the ace down there.
I started out the year 1 and 2, and I couldn't do anything right. Everything was always up and all like the zone, and I couldn't do absolutely anything. And I just had to get it actually up there, and then I won 15 straight.
Yeah. 16-2 final record for the season, a 2.86 ERA, 25 games started in nearly 150 innings. Like that year, you were the guy.
And I actually had all the help from my teammates and all like the guys in like the infield and like the outfield were absolutely awesome.
Oh, I'm sure.
And our catchers were Posey and all like a guy Rojas, and like I actually had all like a sit down with all of them, and all of them just actually said, you actually have all like the stuff, just trust it and throw it. Yeah. And then after all that, it just actually
just clicked.
Yeah, like it's actually easy.
Yeah, you were throwing to Buster Posey, Trent Klein, Aaron Lowenstein, Nestor Rojas, all real solid catchers. I mean, I've heard of them all before. Obviously, people who aren't baseball nerds probably just know of Buster Posey the most there, but like with that like one conversation, I'm sure that was one of many in-depth conversations that you have had with catchers and maybe even some other players that you've played with that just made you feel more comfortable about what you were doing out there on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, all like the stuff in between a pitcher and catcher is more important than absolutely anybody understands. If I trust actually him, and he trusts actually me. All good. It's when you're not on that same page that all like the stuff can get out of all like the whack. And Posey was absolutely phenomenal, and he knew all like the stuff that I was actually saying actually earlier, all about the guys if they're on the dish, if they're off the dish, if they're all the way on back, if they're all the way up front. I saw him actually look at absolutely everybody. Actually, if they're on the plate, if they aren't, anything that guy put down, I was like, all good.
Yeah. And I'm sure you and a number of the other pitchers have had several conversations of like, let's just do what Buster tells us to do. Because it seems like looking at like the games played stats for that entire year and that whole roster, like he was basically the everyday catcher. He played more games than any other catcher. He almost played more games than the other three combined. So it seems like he was the guy behind the plate down there, and for good reason, because he ended up going to have what for some reason is apparently debatable that it's a Hall of Fame career. I think he's a Hall of Fame guy.
And it's not all because of his skills. It's all because of his mental and his knowledge of the game at all times. At all times, and our team in 09, all the stuff with like the offense, that offense was unbelievable.
Yeah, it looks it. I mean, your shortstop was Brandon Crawford.
Yeah, that guy, he did things in the infield that I have never, ever seen. And, like he came all the way up and he played games and games and games in SF, and then he went to the Cardinals, I believe. And that guy was an awesome infielder, but also like an awesome person.
Yeah.
And it comes on down to if the locker room is all good, you're probably going to actually have a good season.
Yeah. So, can you speak to that a little bit? Like, I know when it comes to like minor league baseball, a lot of people may not really be exposed to it unless they have a minor league team in their town or somewhere within probably 30 minutes of them. And other than that, their only exposures might be stuff like major leagues back to the minors or Bull Durham. So can you kind of speak to what it was like in the minor leagues with the Giants organization, and like what was it like? What were the guys like? What was that locker room like? Were you really driving a probably out of date tour bus everywhere around the league? Like that kind of stuff.
So everybody actually assumes that like all of us are in all like the minors, and all of us are actually making all like the money, and it all like the stuff in like the minors is not actually what it's added up to be. You are traveling on a bus for hours, like hours, and all of us aren't small people.
Yeah.
All right. And, so, you go actually all this spot. After that, actually grab all like the stuff on the bus and then actually gone 8 hours, actually elsewhere. It's actually not all it's added up to be, because it is also that mental aspect of, like, even though you're traveling, you still have to get off the bus and get up and actually all, all good, all good to go.
Yeah.
So it's all that. It's all about that consistency of doing it all day, every day.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's probably not the easiest time out there for each individual game. It probably is a bit of a stressful situation. It makes it a lot harder to probably prepare mentally for every single one of your starts.
And it's also like you are playing in, not to actually make a bad example, but you are playing in crappy areas, and I got actually told I was in the Cali League. I'm not going to say exactly where, but
Yeah.
I got told to put my cleats on top of my locker because there are black widow spiders.
Oh man.
So I was like, what?
No,
Yeah.
I would not have known what to do if somebody was like, "Hey, there's insects in here. Be careful." Like,
So every day when I came in, I took all my shoes, all my cleats, and I was like,
shaking them out.
yeah.
Exactly.
Damn, I was like, and it is warm. It's all like locker rooms, they didn't actually have all like the air conditioning, and the aspects off the field is what people don't know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And in my mind, it kind of makes it even more impressive that some of these minor league guys develop so quickly, because I feel like some of the conditions that you end up playing in and are subject to when it comes to travel and not necessarily being in the best places in the country, but you're still able to progress and develop as a ball player and get better every single day. And some of these young kids fly up to the majors, and others take a little bit longer to progress. So just those conditions can be kind of impressive, but also not fun for you guys, I'd imagine. Yeah.
I mean, and all that actually brings on back that mental aspect. Like, even though that all of us are in a bad travel spot, is still actually in between like the lines. It's actually on.
So not to kind of harp on this 2009 season, but you did put your name in the record books in that 2009 season. You are, according to this one source that was the California League record book that I could find, because I don't know where else I could find it. But it says that you are tied for most consecutive strikeouts in a game with Gerald Davey, who did it first in 1964. And then Chris Lamb did it again in 2014 with 10 consecutive strikeouts. That may not sound impressive to a lot of people who may be casual fans and don't watch baseball every day. But I encourage you to watch, go to a minor league game, go to a major league game, and count how many times there is a strikeout in a row, like at all. 10 strikeouts in a row is almost unimaginable to me. Like that's insane. Insane. That's 1, 2, 3 innings, and you get the first guy of the next one. Like I can only do that in MLB The Show. Like that's a video game number right there. Like that's so impressive. Like, did you know at all that you were gonna be like you were close to this record at all? Like, did you have any clue in the middle of that game?
I'll be actually honest with you. I had no idea until the 10th one, and that's when the PA announcer announced it and said I tied all like record, and I turned around and I was like, what? And I had no idea because of I went up and in on a guy and he swung, but the ball hit him.
It hit him.
So he swung and the umpire called him out, and then it was a strikeout, a dropped third strike. Posey actually blocked it, threw him out.
Yeah.
Now, after the guy on the mic announced it, the next guy up, I believe it was the leadoff or like the number 2 guy, and it's crazy all because all this was in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
But I got him to 3-2, and I was like, all this guy's actually looking for like a fastball. I threw a curveball, and it just missed. It could have went either or, and I walked him. And I was like, you know, but I mean, it's all like the stuff that like, if anybody has a streak actually going on, don't say absolutely anything.
I know you're gonna jinx it, or you're gonna give him the yips or something.
Yeah, exactly.
That announcer yipped you.
I threw a 3-2 curveball, and I walked him, and I was like, damn.
Yep. I bet that home plate umpire was good friends with Gerald Davey. Didn't want you to break his record. They were buddies back in the day. But
it was actually, I didn't have absolutely any idea. Because of like the innings, you know, like it's actually 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and then you're in the dugout, out, and all like the guy that he swung, and I had absolutely no idea.
Yeah. Now, when you get hot like that, or you're going like a 1, 2, 3 inning, and you go back to the dugout, Brandon Crawford run in and is like, "Hey, you want to roll a ground ball?" Like, does he do that? Do the guys ask stuff like that sometimes, or are they happy to just go out and like play with the dandelions out there in the outfield like I did in T-ball?
It's more or less of all of us actually know that all of us are out there for like a reason. And, like everybody's actually ready to actually do their job. And I mean, if all like the balls are getting freaking crushed, then all these guys are going to be all over me.
Yeah.
But I mean, they kind of actually just let me actually do all like the stuff that I had to do. Because as I actually said, it's a game and like a game. And if I'm actually zoned in and all my stuff is on, and I can go inside, outside, up, down with absolutely everything, all these guys aren't going to say absolutely anything to me.
Yeah. Now, we've talked a little bit about Buster Posey, but I know from what people have seen of Madison Bumgarner in the major leagues on national television for years, he has a bit of a reputation. I don't necessarily agree. I think that dude will cut off his pitching arm if it means they can win the game. I feel like from what I can see, and as a sports guy myself, it just looks like he wants to win. And a lot of people have seen guys like Garrett Cole kind of go back at Aaron Boone, like, you're not taking me off this mound. Can you speak a little bit to the competitive spirit and like how Madison Bumgarner actually was in the dugout, or when you were in the dugout and he was starting, like what kind of person was he on game day?
I'll be honest with you actually here. I think that he and I were almost like the same person. So it all like a way of all this. In between the lines, I was an arrogant asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all because as a pitcher, you kind of have to be.
Yeah.
Like if I walk out there and I have all like the confidence, and I think that I'm actually better than anybody else that comes up to the plate, I'm probably going to have success. If I go out there and I question if I'm actually better than all this guy, actually, then I've already lost.
Yeah.
So he actually had that talent and that country big man talent, and he thought that he was actually better than absolutely anybody else. And that's why he had the career. If you go out there on like the mound and you question anything, and you've already actually lost.
Yeah, that's when your ERA starts flying up.
Exactly. But I would actually say, off the field, outside the lines, awesome guy, the friendliest, all like the nicest guy that I've ever actually ever played with. And see, that's how I was. All the time actually out there, in between all like the lines, do not actually mess around with me.
Yeah.
But off the field, hey man, I'm actually all good to go. You know, like
Yeah.
I'll actually screw around in like the dugout and all like the stuff in like the locker room. But once I'm actually out there on like the mound, it's actually all game.
I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some of the unwritten rules there are in this amazing game. And there's countless of them. Like a very easy one is don't step on the foul line. Don't do it. Just step over it. Don't step on the line. There's some that have kind of been disregarded, such as the home run, like pimping your home runs. That's not really. It doesn't seem like there's any repercussions anymore. But I know when you were drafted and in that early 2000s or late 2000s, early 2010s, there were some problems with that. So, like, how do you feel about those kind of like unwritten rules or like taking a daddy hack on a 3-0 count? Like, how do you feel about those unwritten rules kind of just not really being followed anymore?
I look at it as a respect for the game.
Yeah.
All right. So even though I'm on like the mound and I actually throw one actually right down the middle and they crush it, you just drop your bat, actually go.
Yeah.
You know, like if you disrespect anybody on the other team, the whole team is going to get aggravated. It's not just action me. It's going to be absolutely everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a guy that I threw him 9 straight changeups because I knew he couldn't hit a changeup.
Yeah.
So why would I give him absolutely anything else?
Exactly.
And I struck him out on like the 10th, and he had a few choice words. Actually, he said too much of a actually give me like a fastball. I said okay. All like the next time that he came up, I put a fastball in his rib cage, and I said to him in a PG, I said, "There's your fastball," and he went on down the first, and I picked him off. So there is some like answer in between, you know,
yeah.
teams and that kind of stuff, and it you know, it's just me as a pitcher. If I see a guy actually hit all like the ball, and I actually look at it, I turn around and he's still in like the batter's all like the box. If I'm still in that game, all like in the next time,
he might get one in the butt.
I'm not going to say what I would do,
but yeah, but like I hear so many people, like analysts and fans and bloggers and podcasters talk about this, but I can't think of any like former player that has really weighed in on this, which is why I kind of wanted to bring it up a little bit to you. And you're also a pitcher, so that probably gives you a different mindset to it. So to get away from the 2009 season where you saw hands down the best success of your minor league career, 2010 you end up playing A ball and double A ball. Were you in Richmond first or Augusta?
I was in Richmond until all of a sudden all that was all like the start of like my arm issues. I could still throw and locate. It was all these guys were actually worried about the velocity. I went from actually throwing 88 to 92-ish, 93 to like 84 to 88.
Yeah.
And that's when they were questioning if I'm actually okay. And I went, I got to like the MRI, and they said there's a slight tear in my labrum. They moved me to A ball, where I was teammates with Zach Wheeler.
There you go. Another name drop.
And Tommy Joseph.
Yeah, that roster also was pretty solid.
Phenomenal. It was just these guys were young.
Yeah, Zach Wheeler was 21 on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up doing pretty well.
He threw the heaviest ball I think that I've ever seen, and all like thing like the heaviest, meaning if you catch it, it's like it's not just like you catch it. It's like
yeah, you're gonna feel it.
And he was 21 at like the time, and God, did he throw hard.
Yeah, looks like he pitched in about 6 games that season.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, he may have gotten moved up shortly thereafter if he was pitching real well.
And then Joseph was also there. I believe he got drafted out of high school, and I believe he was only 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, he got drafted.
He
He got drafted out of high school. He was 18 years old in 2010 when you played with him in Augusta.
Yeah.
So he
So
and he was still the guy down there. He played the most games, most innings.
And he was a guy that was so smart, and that dude could stroke it, man. That dude could hit, and he just had to actually work on his catching aspect of minor league pitching, and he was actually going to be all good.
Yeah.
And I told him that, and I said, "Hey, if if you get down the aspect of receiving and catching aspect, you are going to do great things. And he did.
Yeah. I mean, as an 18-year-old in the minors with that year, he had a 236 batting average with 16 home runs. Like, as an 18-year-old, that's really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Offensively, that's incredible. But then your arm issues continue to escalate, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
And that leads you to take some time off from baseball. And then you come back in 2012 playing independent in New Jersey. What was the difference like there?
I actually had to get operated on.
Yeah.
I had surgery in SF at the end of 2010. I was in Arizona for 10 months. Actually doing all like stuff with like the rehab. And I just want to throw this out there. Not that I enjoyed actually being in rehab, all because of like an operation.
Mm-hmm.
I was with Freddie Sanchez. I was with Pat Earl.
That dude's had some health problems throughout his career.
And he is hilarious. That dude is so funny, and Freddie was absolutely awesome. And you know, I mean, all of us were in there all day, every day.
Yeah.
So we didn't actually have an option, but to actually hang out with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to actually say that Freddie was in there, and those guys were great.
Yeah.
Great guys. Like if any of us actually needed absolutely anything, they took care of us. And, everybody actually looks at it as all these guys are athletes actually getting paid millions, but all these guys were great. So after I actually did all of the rehab and was cleared to play,
Mm-hmm.
I was actually released.
That stinks.
Which was, I knew that I got told that I was, I believe, 28 at the time. And I got told that there's a 20-year-old that can do everything that I can do. I said, no, all good.
Mm-hmm.
I said, but I have the experience and the knowledge of the game that they don't have. So if you look at like a Glavin, Maddox,
Yeah.
Moyer, those guys didn't actually light up the gun, but they knew how to get guys out.
Exactly.
And that's the bottom line. And I said, okay, all good.
Yeah, or even guys like who was the guy on the Yankees? I think it was last year. Tim Hill threw sidearm. He's like 42. I think he topped out at 86 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he's still floating around Major League Ball because of his release point is
Mm-hmm.
so drastically different. I think that's more of his value. Nobody cares too much for Tim Hill's velocity, but that release point is so drastically different from Garrett Cole or whoever else is on the hill that it's going to be a big change, and that makes him valuable. And I mean, you
Mm-hmm.
being a lefty automatically I feel like would have made you more valuable because I've growing up playing baseball when I was younger, all through that time, lefties were gold on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, well, Baseball Reference has you out for 2 years, going back to independent ball in 2012 in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Had you have stayed with the Giants, had they not released you, do you think you could have ended up going somewhere in like the Rule 5 draft or something? Because you weren't really on, like, you were on pace and pitching very, very well, statistically speaking. Anyway, I have not seen any of your live games. Can't find any. I tried to find something on YouTube to watch you actually pitch, and I couldn't find much. But I did, like, I saw the 10 strikeouts. I saw a clip of that where the audio was removed on YouTube for some reason. Don't know why.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I saw that. But like looking at your stats, you were improving pretty much every year. You were a solid pitcher. You were doing well. You were moving from low A to high A to double A, and then shoulder problems. I don't know. It's odd to me, and I think just with your age and experience, that would have been valuable to another organization, even if it wasn't valuable to the Giants at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure with countless minor leaguers coming in and out, it's probably hard for some of these teams to make these decisions. So do you think like there could have been another option after the surgery?
After all, like the operation, I did have a workout with the Angels. I had a workout with the A's, and they were just actually concerned all about the age and all because of like the operation. Um, I, it, like I know all like the stuff in all like the MPH actually gets you all this,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can locate at any time with absolutely anything, or like a Glavin, like a Addicts, like a Moyer,
Mm-hmm.
that is what gets you up to like the majors
Yeah.
and will keep you actually there. Um, I went to indie ball, and I'll be honest with you, all like the stuff in like the indie ball is everybody's out there for themselves in a way because they want to get signed.
Yeah, they're trying to show that they can individually play ball in
Yes.
to that level. And I
And
mean, I've even looked through the roster for that indie ball team.
mm-hmm.
I don't think I recognize really anybody.
I did actually play with Angel Baroa, who was the MVP in like 1999 or something like all that.
Well,
For
he got
the
rookie of the year.
Blue Jays.
Yeah, he got rookie of the year in
So I was on the team in Jersey with Angel and also a phenomenal teammate because he loved the game. He knew that he probably wasn't going to go back up. So he played the game for the love of the game.
Yeah. And those are the guys that I feel like if I would have been in a position growing up, I wasn't very good at baseball. I'm not going to lie. I love it to death. I love baseball the most out of all the sports I played. I was not very good. I was a good defensive catcher and I could bunt. I couldn't hit the ball to save my life. You asked me to get a single, hit a curveball opposite field. No shot. Wasn't happening. That was not my game. I couldn't swing a bat. I was horrible. I couldn't do it. It was not that good.
I mean, all like the stuff with like the indie ball is it's almost like a half and
Yeah.
half.
Yeah. Guys are playing
Everybody's
because
out
they
there.
love baseball, and guys are playing to get signed.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's out there because they want to win, but they're also out there because they want to get signed.
Yeah.
And that's where you come into the selfishness of the game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And you know, and then like I don't, like I loved all of the aspect of the camaraderie of all like the guys in like the locker room, and all of us are out there for a reason. And when I went to like the indie ball, I didn't feel that, and it like I had to make a tough choice.
Yeah.
Wasn't actually easy, but let's just actually say I got offered to play for an adult team with college guys and NCAA guys and high school guys and ex pros, where I was getting paid the same, and it was right down the street from my house. So
yeah, exactly.
So
and those guys are definitely just playing ball to play ball.
it's a competitive league, and it's all like the high school, all like the NCAA guys that couldn't get into the Cape and I mean it's good baseball.
Yeah.
And I thought that it would be easier for actually me to be at home, and like I could actually work all day and then do all that in like the evening.
Yeah.
And it was a tough aspect of, I worked absolutely all my life to do that, and injuries, and then when somebody says that that's it, it's all done, and they almost actually take the uniform off your back that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah. I mean, it was tough for me in college when I went out for the hockey, when I was on the hockey team at Kings, and then the coach said no, but I can't even imagine the size of the pill that you had to swallow, because that was your job. Like, I wasn't getting paid. I just wanted to play, and I wanted to advance my career through college hockey. But like that was your job. That had to be 10 times worse than what I experienced, or any other kid who's getting sent to JV has to experience, or something like that. But I mean, emotionally, it feels like the worst. And then in your case, probably was one of the most difficult things you've had to endure in your entire life, let alone your career. So it's just, but I don't even know how to like try to.
And I wouldn't actually change absolutely anything. For the world. I got to actually play with the S of like the best, and I was actually all over like the US, and I was in MLB spring in 2010, and I met the absolute greatest of their, like the Aubrey Huff, Angie Molina, Mark Rosa, and Sandoval, and Zito, Lincecum, Kane, Bumgarner, and like I learned so much from all of them that like I pass all that on to all like the guys that I play with or coach, or like I try and give all them all like the info that I like I have.
Do you still keep in touch with any of those guys that you played with throughout the days?
I talked to Bumgarner probably after he got injured, and he was with Arizona, and but after all of that, I mean, all like the stuff with like the life actually takes you elsewhere.
Yeah.
And but I was actually on down at Bumgarner's house in 2011-ish. All like stuff for his wedding. And that dude is a phenomenal person, and all the stuff that he did actually on the mound and in between all like lines is all because he just wanted to win.
Stay up to date on everything going on in the sports world by heading over to 7 Mountain Sports on Facebook, 7 Mountain Sports on X, on Instagram. We are on all of your favorite platforms, and you do not want to miss out on a single thing going on here at 7 Mountain Sports. Absolutely phenomenal to talk to you. And now since you were drafted by the Giants, I figured you'd be a wonderful person to hang on to and go through the NL West a little bit here and see where this NL West, which is obviously going to be a nail biter to predict where it's going to go this season. We're going to start with the 5th place team last year, the Colorado Rockies, who lost Brandon Rogers, who went to Houston. He had a batting average of 267. Pretty good ball player there. Cal Quantrill also leaves Colorado for Miami, and he was just under a 5 ERA at the end of last season, which it's not great. The Rockies added Taro Estrada to replace Brandon Rogers, and Estrada had a 217 batting average heading into 2024. And Kyle Farmer is also joining the roster at a 214 batting average. They added Scott Alexander to the bullpen, who had a 2.56 ERA over 38 and 2/3 innings pitched. I do not think that the Rockies really did anything to try to get better this offseason based off of those additions. And their projected lineup looks pretty much the same, except for Estrada being put in there at second base instead of Brandon Rogers, who I definitely think is the better ball player, but he did end up signing a minor league contract with Houston. I don't know, not sure why. I really think Brandon Rogers would have been a better option at second base than Taro Estrada. I think the power is there more so for Estrada than Rogers, but I don't know. Overall, I'm not too high on the Colorado Rockies. I think if you're a Rockies fan out there listening, it's probably going to be another 61 and 101 season for you. It's probably not going to be all that good. They got to find some way to improve this starting rotation. I mean, Marquez is really the only solid starter. Kyle Freeland's kind of hit or miss. Alex Gomber, he can be dominant at times, but he can also be a little bit of hit or miss. He doesn't throw as consistently. Projection wise, Gomer's looking at a 5+ ERA, and Marquez and Feltner are the only two projected starters that are going to be under a 5 ERA projected, which I don't think that's a winning recipe, like at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's. I mean, if you actually look at like the ERAs on I mean, all that is, like I'm gonna actually saying that all these guys are awful. I mean, it's just a matter of ERA is what everybody looks at, and if all like the ERA, if it's actually over a 5, I mean that's
Yeah.
I mean all these guys are going to actually be in trouble.
Yeah, I don't think the Rockies are really looking all that great. I mean, they do have some depth when it comes to their minor league system, so I could see a couple of their AAA guys maybe seeing some MLB time once the season gets rolling. I don't foresee any of their minor league starting pitchers actually making the opening day roster because they're all like 24, 23. So if they're not 100% ready for MLB ball by opening day, I think it's a better option to keep them in the minors to start the season and let them light up AAA and then bring them along. Probably the best move.
And I mean, I got actually told this by Angie Molina. The difference between like AA and the big leagues is that all the guys in like the MLB, they do it day in and day out. It's all about the consistency of producing on an everyday aspect. And that is absolutely it. It's not about the talent.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about the consistency of doing it every game.
Next up, we have the San Francisco Giants. Last year finished fourth in the NL West at 80-82. They lost Blake Snell. That's going to hurt this starting rotation like a lot. But they did bring in Justin Verlander to replace him. I do think Verlander is a really good pitcher. I do think he's a bit past his prime at 42 years old, 19.002 service time. So I wouldn't say Verlander's in his prime, but he's still going to win you games, and he's going to be able to be out there for a good length of time when it comes to eating up innings and not really allowing a lot of runs. He's a guy that I think can still be a very serviceable pitcher. And when it comes to Justin Verlander, I think he's going to be more of a help for the Giants in the long term, because the Giants' fifth starter in the rotation projected right now is Kyle Harrison, who's 23 years old, and he has 1.041 service time. So a guy like that has the potential to be a stud in the rotation has a lot to learn from Justin Verlander. So I think that's why the Giants went out and tried to make that move. They also lost Michael Conforto, outfielder, but they ended up bringing in Willie Adames to play infield for them. Other than that, it's looking pretty much like the same lineup as last year. They added Lou Trevino via free agency. He's a non-roster invite. Keaton Wynn is another really good pitcher for the Giants right now, and he is projected to start the season on the injured list. He had elbow surgery on an ulnar nerve transposition. Don't know when he's coming back. Hopefully soon though, because Wynn was pretty good. Like he could spin it. He had some good off-speed stuff. 27-year-old. He's going to be a really good starter for the Giants down the road. But this rotation of Logan Webb, Verlander, Robbie Ray, Jordan Hicks, and Kyle Harrison, I think definitely has a lot of potential to be awesome. And Robbie Ray, along with Verlander, to bring Kyle Harrison along and teach him how to be an everyday pro is going to be a huge help for this organization, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that Verlander is going to bring that knowledge to the game, and that aspect of it's not like I have to throw like 101 to actually get all like the guys out. That's actually not actually what it is. It's all about the inside, outside, up, down with all your stuff. And I think that aspect that he will bring from actually having 20 years?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah. It's just that knowledge and experience.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun for Verlander, I think, on this roster to hopefully improve. But we'll see if he ends up getting traded back to Houston again. Like that seems to be the trend for him recently.
Oh yeah,
he'll sign somewhere and then they trade him right back to Houston.
I know.
Yeah. Is Verlander a good replacement for Blake Snell? I think productivity wise, probably not. Blake Snell is, I think he's right in his prime right now. But overall, I think Verlander is going to be a positive veteran help for the San Francisco Giants team to probably put them on a path for a winning season this year, as opposed to last year where they just missed out by 2 games. So I think Verlander overall is going to be a good help.
I'm actually with you.
Figured you'd be with me on the Giants having a winning season. Next up, we have the Arizona Diamondbacks, who finished third in the NL West, surprisingly. That really shocked me a lot. But they are some of their key losses, they're losing a good amount of players, but some of the key ones that they're losing are Christian Walker, Jock Peterson, and Paul Sewald. They are all on the road. Walker's going to Houston, Peterson's going to Texas, and Sewald's going to Cleveland. To replace Walker, they brought in Josh Naylor. I think that's pretty equivalent of a switch at first base. I do think, however, Josh Naylor can be a little bit shakier than Walker at times. I think that Naylor, in general, like looking at his whole body of work, is going to be relatively the same production and reliability defensively for Arizona this year. But I do worry a little bit about his consistency at the plate. Pitching wise, they brought in Corbin Burns. I think that is their biggest move this offseason. Corbin Burns is another Blake Snell-like guy that is going to give you a lot of innings. He's going to start 25 to 35 games this season. He is going to be, I think, Arizona's number one starter without a doubt this year. And he's definitely going to help improve this rotation with Brandon Pfaadt being kind of young at 26 years old, Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, and Eduardo Rodriguez also being very dominant pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all like the issue is going to be their pitching. Like I looked actually into it a small bit, and like you're going to have to hold all these guys probably under 3, 4, 5 runs all like a game.
Yeah.
Can they? That's going to be all like the issue.
Yeah, I mean, even their lineup right now, like defensively, they look solid. I think their outfield, I think the projected lineup here is not what I would have done. I'd probably have Alec Thomas out in the outfield over Jake McCarthy. That's just probably my preference because I think Alec Thomas is a little bit faster. He's a little bit younger. I think he's a little bit more effective at the plate. So I'm not sure if that, I mean, this is just a projection. So it's probably going to end up changing. I think they do still need to go out and get a bat. I'm not sure if Pavin Smith is going to be the guy we would want at DH. He's a left-handed bat, 29 years old. He's projected to have a just under 250 batting average. I feel like if we're going to get somebody, that's the area that would need to be addressed is who's going to end up being our DH. And in the bullpen, they added Kendall Graveman and Shelby Miller as well, which I think that will help for the loss of Paul Sewald. Overall, I really think that the Diamondbacks are going to need to have another season like they did in 2023 if they want to get themselves back into a playoff picture and a playoff type of team. I think that's going to be the big thing for a lot of these players is can they play like they did in 2023 when they made that World Series run to get themselves back into a playoff picture. And I think the additions they made are putting them on the path to do it. I do not think this team is complete. They're probably going to make a couple moves throughout the rest of the season to try to find one or two missing pieces that can put them in a better position to win.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think it's all about each team who gets actually like hot at like the right time. And,
yeah.
Like if 2023 with like the Arizona, all those guys got actually hot at the right time, and they went all the way.
Yeah.
And it's not about, all like the talent and all that stuff. It's the hottest team at the right time.
7MM Sports is your hub for all things Seven Mountains Media Sports. You can watch the latest of Sports Talk with Steve Jones episodes. You can find what station you can listen to your favorite Penn State sports team on, and you can even get live social media updates all the time. All of these things are available along with every single show produced by Seven Mountains Sports over at 7mmsports.com. A team that does have a lot of talent, but unfortunately did lose some good players, is the San Diego Padres. They finished second in the NL West, going 93-69. They lost Jerkson Profar, Hassan Kim, and Tanner Scott, and a few other ball players here as well. But they brought in Jason Hayward to try to fill in the hole for Jerkson Profar out there in the outfield. Another guy who's been around for a while and has some good knowledge of the game for him. They also brought in Nick Pivetta, and they signed Kyle Hart out of the Korean Baseball League. So I didn't see a lot of his stats beforehand. I couldn't find a whole lot of Kyle Hart in the KBO, but overall, I think he's probably just going to be a reliable arm until Joe Musgrove ends up coming back from Tommy John surgery. But Kyle Hart does have 2 minor league options, so they could hang on to him if he is being a reliable pitcher. He could end up going down to the bullpen, or they can send him to AAA to just make room for Musgrove to come back from Tommy John. But overall, this team's pretty similar. They added Connor Joe as well to give some infield and outfield help. But I'm going to be honest, I don't think the Padres are going to have a playoff season this year. And I think with the additions they made, because when I'm looking more so into who they've added, they have Martin Maldonado as a non-roster invite. They added Gavin Sheets, Yuri Gurriel, both non-roster invites, projected to be AAA ball players right now. They have Mike Barrasso, who is projected to be in AAA at third base. I have a feeling that the Padres, from a front office perspective, are bringing guys in to develop their prospects, because they have a bunch of young talent that is in AA and AAA that is projected to make their MLB debut sometime this season, all the way to 2027. They have a lot of top prospects. So I have a feeling that the Padres front office is bringing in older vets who may be a little past their prime and can't keep up with MLB speed anymore to help bring these guys along faster. This is their version of fast tracking young guys to the minors, I feel like.
It all like thing with like the fast tracking everybody is tough, you know, on an ego standpoint. If you rush them actually up and they fail, it can hurt somebody mentally.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, I mean, it's kind of like a hit or miss.
Yeah.
But I guess if you look at it, you don't actually know unless you try it.
Yeah. Because right now the Padres have the number 1 catching prospect in MLB in Ethan Salas. He is 18 years old. He's really, really good. He is unbelievable. He's a real good ball player. He hits pretty well. I think he needs to develop his bat quite a lot because he is 18. However, last year he played with a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old who have never been above A ball. I think by bringing in Martin Maldonado to play at AAA, you can throw Ethan Salas on that AAA roster, have Maldonado be the everyday guy, and then now Salas, who you have put a lot of stock in as an organization, is going to be learning and growing from somebody who has 12 years of MLB service time. Like, I think that's kind of the strategy, because they have a couple other first basemen that are really good. So I think that's going to help with Yuri Gurriel coming in, who has 7 years of service time. Like, I have a feeling that's the idea that the Padres are going with. They're bringing in some experienced guys on minor league deals to help some of their younger guys learn faster without pushing them into the MLB and then damaging their ego.
Absolutely. And that's all like the point that I was actually making. It's all about that knowledge, of like the game, and just actually getting all these guys to understand and get the game of minors, and and it just, like all it actually takes is like a small thing, and they get it and they understand it, and then all of a sudden they're like, boom.
Finally, we have it makes me sick to say, the World Series champion LA Dodgers.
I just want to actually throw this out there. These guys are going to be tough to beat.
They're going to be impossible to beat. And surprise, they re-signed. Yeah, they re-signed Clayton Kershaw. Surprise. Don't know why he holds out for so long for another 1-year deal. But either way, he's back with the Dodgers. So is Enrique Hernandez. Blake Trinan's back. Teoscar Hernandez is back. Jack Flaherty left. Walker Buehler left. They're keeping pretty much everybody. And then they added Hae-Sung Kim from Korea, who is an absolute stud at second base. And he gets offensively, he gets on base a lot. And he doesn't care how he gets on base. Michael Conforto is going to be a solid outfielder for him. I don't think he's going to be every day. He'll probably be on a rotation with Chris Taylor a little bit, depending on where they need Chris Taylor on any given day. But the biggest thing that I think is making this Dodgers team so terrifying is the fact that they have so much good pitching that they don't need Shohei Ohtani to pitch ever again.
And like I understand all like the stuff with like the talent. It's just you got to do it actually in between all like the lines, and all these guys actually did it all year, and I think as actually me, I think they got better.
Yeah, I definitely think the Dodgers improved this season, and Roki Sasaki is a steal for them. He was absolutely dominant in Japan. He was dominant in the World Baseball Classic, and he is coming to LA on a minor league deal because he's under the age of 25. So he's on a minor league deal. He has three options. So if they find out that he's struggling in spring, they can send him to AAA, and they still have Kershaw and Ohtani that they can go to pitch, which is absolutely terrifying as a non-Dodger fan. Yeah, like I think Roki Sasaki is going to make the MLB roster on opening day, but the fact that they have the option to say, hey, you need a little more time before you're MLB ready, they can do that. And they have so many additional years of control then, because he's not accumulating any service time.
I don't actually think that all that the guy needs absolutely any more time. It's
No.
just a matter of experience in that atmosphere of all like the guys in like the MLB.
Yeah, and especially in Dodger Stadium after they just won a World Series. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think for Sasaki, he may have 1 or 2 bad starts coming up here in April or beginning of March or end of March, and then he's going to be locked in. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, even at the World Baseball Classic, he didn't shy away from those big moments. He was comfortable. But I wouldn't go screaming and hollering at the owners and GMs of the Dodgers if Sasaki
No,
has a bad
no.
start, about a bad start in his first MLB game. I would not not at all.
Actually, looking like the Eagles. Early on in like the year, everybody's like, actually, Hurts is awful. Hurts is blah 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 blah. And
Yeah, and he goes out and smacks the Chiefs in the mouth in the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but this Dodgers starting rotation is
insane.
It's nuts. Like
it's almost
everyone
on back to the Oswald Hamels, all those guys that were over in here, and they dominated.
Yeah, because projected for 2025, the only pitcher right now in the starting rotation, which does not include Shohei Ohtani, that is going to be above a 3 is Tony Gosselin. Everyone is projected to be under a 3 with 20 plus games started and 130 plus innings pitched.
And if you look at all that as an offense, if you score 3 or more, you're probably going to win.
Yeah.
And that is awesome. I would actually love that.
Yeah. I mean, looking at some of their more in-depth stats, like their Ks per 9, not Yamamoto 9.36, Snell 11.79, Glasnow 11.11, Sasaki 11.32, walks per 9.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, walks per 9, 2.1 for Yamamoto, 3.96 for Snell, 2.5 for Glasnow, 2.6 for Sasaki. Like
insane. Insane.
Like these are the numbers that I put up with my created player in MLB The Show. Like these are video game numbers. Seriously.
I don't know. I understand, man. I actually look at like the LA, all like the Dodgers, and I'm like, how can you, as an NL West participant, compete with this?
Yeah, I think the Dodgers are pretty much making their bed and making first place in the NL West their home for years now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of terrifying if you're a fan of anyone else in the NL West. The Dodgers are going to be holding things down for a while to come. Oh, and just to add a little on top of that, they added Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates to the bullpen, who are
absolutely awesome.
2 of the most consistent relievers in the game and have been for years. And both of them are going to have under 4 ERAs projected as well, which
and see that's what everybody's always actually amped up about, is like strikeouts and blah 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 blah. No, and everybody's all amped up about wins. All right, so let's say I go out, I give up a run, and I lose, but I only gave up a run in 8 innings. All right.
I'll take that. That's a good start.
Exactly.
That's a high quality start.
That's actually why they don't look at the wins and losses. They look at the ERA, the strikes and walks per nine, and the walks and hits per innings pitched.
Yeah.
Those are the three that everybody actually looks at.
Yeah, the ERA, Ks per nine, walks per nine, innings pitched. Those are all, like, probably, in my opinion, the most important stats for pitching. And for hitting, it's going to be hits. Like, I don't really care how many doubles and triples you hit. If you're getting on base, you're getting on base. Batting average,
on base
percentage, slugging percentage. Those are the big ones to me. Obviously,
yeah,
like, home runs are fun. They're cool to watch when you're in the stands, but, like, if you go 1 for 4 with 1 home run, like, cool. I'd rather go 4 for 4 with 4 singles. Like,
absolutely,
like,
100%.
That would be. I definitely would rather have that. But overall, when it comes down to it, I'm probably going to say that the Rockies are going to finish in 5th. I don't think that's a stretch. I'll have the Padres in 4th, just because I don't know why, but I just looking at the additions they made versus what they lost, it just feels like they're looking to the future a little bit more, which could lead to them not having as successful a season. Giants going to 3rd, probably missing a wild card spot by a game or two. The Diamondbacks finish in 2nd because there ain't no team in the MLB that can be in a division with the Los Angeles Dodgers and win it. I don't think it's possible. They're probably going to be the number 1 team in the league this year.
I think that you are absolutely right.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Padres and the Giants, I think they could be. I could hear an argument to flip them, and I could be convinced very easily for my standings predictions wise anyway. But I think the Diamondbacks adding Corbin Burns definitely puts them in a better position to make a playoff run. They're not winning the division. Like, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything they could do aside from trading for Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Bryce Harper. Like, just go get all of the all-stars, and maybe you'll have a chance to win a 182 game season against the Dodgers. Like, the Dodgers, I just think, are built to win, and with all their deferred contracts that they have with these guys, like, they're solid on money. I think they're just putting themselves in the best position to win as many rings as they possibly can for the next 5 years, 10 years. I really, really appreciate you coming on and doing this with me, man.
Anytime. And thank you for absolutely everything.
Yeah. This has been absolutely incredible. It's so much fun. Thank you for being the first guest on Scorebook Stories. And
awesome.
maybe in the off season, once we get out of more statistic analysis and all that baseball stuff, and we'll grab you and you can come back on and we'll just talk more fun side stories on those long road trips you had in the minors.
And all those things actually might be actually rated R.
Yeah, we may need to put that episode behind a paywall. Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody who listened to Scorebook Stories. I'm Alec. Craig, thank you again very much for joining me.
Anytime, guys.